But there's an enormous amount of stuff going on. Everything's in flux, but basically it's pretty good. And I think that the best news is that the Trump administration, pretty much across the board, is showing, compared to what we were worried about, is showing enormous or considerable support for intercity passenger rail expansion. Where there was a fear early on that they were going to cut off the SID program. They not only cut off the SID program, they're advancing it quite smartly. They added, in their budget, they added more money for the SID program and for the long-distance routes. They've made a commitment for the long-distance routes, understanding they go through a lot of rural areas. There appears to be growing support in a number of places for both competition and the direct access model as opposed to the traditional Amtrak model. And that, of course, was first promoted by the Chippewa Authority in its federal application. And it seems to be getting more and more traction in a number of places. Probably the greatest unknown, which is something we just have to think about, is that the rail authorization expires just a little over a year from now. And of course, the rail title is in it. There's a question, are they going to include a rail title or go separately? We very much want them to include a rail title. So it's an unknown as to what Congress is going to do. However, they're going to do something. Hearings are underway in both the House and the Senate. The House has asked for ideas, which AIPRO submitted ideas. In April, we submitted a 9-point plan for reconstruction, which was based largely on the ideas of the Chippewa application that was approved in the SID program. We have been in conversation, which I'll mention, with other large organizations to try to get a common front on the reforms, and we have achieved a understanding, I guess I'll say, with Transportation for America, whose president used to be chairman of Amtrak and also the Large Rail Passengers Association. They've agreed that we should concentrate on three major issues. The first issue is competition and direct access as the way of progressing these projects. The second issue is what we've just been talking about, is equipment pooling, both to start with a survey of the needs for the next 20 years and then to put into place some sort of a production operation. And then third is liability reform. And those are the three things that group is kind of agreed to. We're working forward for just some of the reasons you've been discussing here and elsewhere. The equipment pooling initiative is getting a lot of interest, a lot of traction, and we've moved that up to a very high priority. We're talking to Congress. Staff has asked for language, and that's all being worked on. So basically, the program under this administration seems to be advancing pretty well. And Chippewa, with our route, is right in the sweet spot of the kind of reforms that are being talked about. So then the question to me is, what should we do next? And I have some thoughts on that, and we can talk about it informally after this is over. It's my opinion that because there is a lot of uncertainty out there, we should move this project along just as quickly as we possibly can, understanding there are a lot of financial restraints. And the process we used with me and Mason in preparing the application was the whole series of market soundings to get a lot of ideas on the table quickly. And I'm going to propose that we take a hard look at quickly addressing the issues that need to be resolved through another series of market soundings. And we would target like handful of key issues. The trackage rights and rail construction that's going to be necessary on the UP, funding for the Step 2 service development, and then equipment delivery, which we've given a lot of thought to. That there will be some sort of a cost factor there, so we got to think about that. I think we could break it into two parts. The first part would be just figure out exactly what it is, what kind of market soundings we're going to have and where, and that shouldn't be very expensive at all. and then proceed to them, because I'm increasingly believing that this is the quickest way to solve a lot of complicated problems, especially when we have 69 other projects out there that are trying to solve their problems and get the funding. So that's basically where I think we are. Mason, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you pretty much covered it, Ray. I think what we're seeing is obviously it's better than what we were worried about, and we're excited for what the future can hold. And we have a lot of momentum, including private sector operators. It's something this administration and the FRA is really keen on. At least on the AIPRO side, we're actively expanding. We now have Stadler as a member to help those conversations about rolling stock. I know that was a question that was asked earlier, and that's sort of, and we're looking at adding more operators as well. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at.
Our latest, we've had several join the organization. Our latest is Dreamstar, which is a very interesting operation out of California, planning operation. They're looking at a specific route, but they're also looking all over the country at where they could introduce these kinds of overnight trains. So just a lot of interesting stuff going on.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Any questions for Ray?
Do we have a handle on the FRA staffing levels? Has that been affected with, a lot of the federal staffing changes, and has it affected our project in that way?
I'm not aware that it's affected the project. The deputy administrator seems to be kind of heading the events and trying to move the SID projects forward. There have been cutbacks within FRA. I'm not sure to what extent. A lot of people took their leave early on, but I'm not aware that it has stopped or slowed down the process on intercity passenger rail.
Ray, I do have a question sort of looking at the process you talked about in Washington, D.C. So if I understood what you said, the Corridor ID project, the CID or SID as you mentioned it, is a program under the current authorization, and that expires the end of next year, and then or at the end of this coming fiscal year, so next fall, and that Congress is now looking at what they might do for reauthorization. So is there, for those of us who are interested in seeing a good outcome there, do you have suggestions in terms of working with Congress to help move that along?
Yeah, I certainly do. We're putting together there's a whole bunch of things going on, but mainly we're trying to put together a program with the rail passengers and the Transportation for America to come up with a specific program, including in some cases like equipment with statutory language. My biggest fear right now is you never know what's going to happen in the reauthorization, and there's going to be a lot of competition for that money. And of course, the money's getting tighter, including from the highways and just general budget cutbacks. Right now, the administration seems pretty good going forward, but I don't know what Congress is going to do. They're going to go on an independent path, and I think it's important that we pull a program together. I'm just releasing a paper, which I did with the Discovery Institute of Seattle and its chairman, which goes through a lot of recommendations that should be released later this week. And then which has got a lot of recommendations in it for what should be done. And then with the little coalition I was talking about, we're going to try to come up with a specific program, and a program needs to be fed back into all the congressional delegations to get it wherever we can, to get these ideas for a robust improvement of program, especially with a local twist. And any help you guys can do with that will be really valuable. But that's my biggest concern, is that things will start to fall through the cracks in the reauthorization process.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, well, thank you, Ray.